In the tense scenario of an imminent war, the ancient city of Jerusalem was surrounded by one of the most powerful military forces in the world. Under the command of King Sennacherib, the Assyrian army had invaded the kingdom of Judah and was advancing mercilessly, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The inhabitants of Jerusalem faced the shadow of the Assyrian invasion, and the threat of destruction seemed inevitable. The king of Judah, Hezekiah, was a man devoted to the God of Israel. When faced with imminent danger, he turned to the Lord in prayer, crying out for divine help to save his city and his people. Today, we will delve into one of the most impressive stories in the Bible, where divine power is manifested in extraordinary ways. Get ready to learn the story of God's angel who, in a single night, exterminated 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. To understand the magnitude of this event, we need to go back in time, to the period of King Hezekiah, who ruled the kingdom of Judah. Hezekiah was known for his unshakable faith and for his reforms that sought to purify worship in the Temple of Jerusalem. But in the midst of this time of spiritual renewal, a threat appeared on the horizon: the powerful Assyrian army. Hezekiah, whose name in Hebrew is Chizkihu, means God is the fortress. This name reflects Hezekiah's courageous, strong, and bold nature. Hezekiah's reign, which began around 715 BC, was marked by his deep devotion to the God of Israel and his significant religious reforms. Hezekiah assumed the throne of Judah at a young age, at the age of 25, and his reign lasted 29 years. He was the son of King Ahaz, and his mother was Abi, daughter of Zechariah. From the beginning of his reign, he demonstrated an unwavering commitment to the religious and spiritual principles of his people. One of his first actions as king was to promote the purification of the temple in Jerusalem, which had been corrupted by idolatrous practices over the years. Hezekiah understood the central importance of the temple to the worship of God and to the spiritual identity of Judah. With this in mind, he began a campaign to restore the sanctity of the temple. He ordered to remove all practices and symbols of idolatry that had infiltrated the temple, such as altars dedicated to pagan gods and idols that turned the people's hearts away from their true faith. Hezekiah not only destroyed these elements, but also promoted true worship of the Lord, establishing practices and rituals that reaffirmed faith in the God of Israel. Furthermore, Hezekiah destroyed the bronze serpent, known as Nustan, which had been raised up by Moses during the Exodus as a symbol of divine healing. Over time, the serpent had become an object of worship in itself, violating the principles of worship of the one God. Hezekiah demonstrated courage in destroying this idol, a decision that reflected his unshakable trust in divine providence. Hezekiah's religious reforms were not just a formality, they were a genuine expression of his faith and zeal for the Lord. He did not hesitate to confront deep-rooted idolatrous practices, shaping spiritual renewal among the people of Judah. Hezekiah's dedication to purifying the temple and abolishing idolatry established a pattern of true and faithful worship of God, paving the way for divine intervention at crucial moments in his reign. His leadership inspired spiritual renewal among the inhabitants of Judah, strengthening their faith and identity as a nation devoted to the Lord. The conflict with Assyria during Hezekiah's reign was one of the most challenging times for the kingdom of Judah. Under the command of King Sennacherib, the Assyrian army was a feared military force throughout the region. Assyria was in its greatest expansion phase, conquering territories and cities with brutal efficiency, and Judah was no exception. The Assyrians formed what is considered the first professional army in history. They were known for their meticulous organization and for being hired warriors, paid exclusively to perfect the art of war. The Assyrian army was famous for its excellent battle tactics. They developed advanced siege weapons and were among the first to make extensive use of iron weapons, which gave them a significant advantage over their enemies. The brutality with which the Assyrians treated their opponents was notorious. They not only sought victory in battles, but also imposed fear and terror as a strategy to maintain control over conquered peoples. In addition to their skill in combat, the Assyrians also stood out for their military technology. They used horse-drawn war chariots and were innovative in the use of inflatable boats to cross rivers, which allowed them to carry out surprise attacks and expand their territory. Thanks to their excellent military organization, the Assyrians managed to form the largest Mesopotamian empire of the time, extending its domain to distant regions such as Egypt. The Assyrian threat became evident when Sennacherib invaded the fortified cities of Judah, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. His covetous gaze was fixed on Jerusalem, the capital of the kingdom of Judah, considered the jewel of the region. Hezekiah, upon realizing the imminent danger posed by the Assyrian army, sought a peaceful solution to avoid the invasion and massacre of his people. In a desperate gesture, Hezekiah offered a significant tribute to Sennacherib, mobilizing treasures from the Jerusalem temple and the royal palace. The tribute included a large amount of silver and gold, demonstrating the wealth and importance that Hezekiah attached to preserving his city and its people. However, Hezekiah's attempts to negotiate peace were in vain. Sennacherib rejected the offer of tribute with arrogance and contempt, openly defying Hezekiah and the God of Israel. He mocked Hezekiah's attempts and declared that just as the gods of the conquered nations could not stop him, neither would the God of Israel be able to stop him. This affront by Sennacherib aggravated tensions and increased the need for divine intervention. Faced with the refusal of tribute and the imminent threat of invasion, Hezekiah understood that the only hope for Judah lay in his faith in the Lord and his fervent prayers. He sought divine help to protect his kingdom and his people from the relentless fury of the Assyrian army. Despite pressure and taunts from the Assyrians, Hezekiah maintained his trust in God and sought counsel from the prophet Isaiah. Hezekiah's faith and prayer were fundamental to divine protection over Jerusalem. Faced with the imminent threat of an Assyrian invasion, King Hezekiah fervently turned to the God of Israel for protection for the kingdom of Judah and its capital, Jerusalem. He sought guidance and comfort through the prophet Isaiah, who brought a divine message of hope. Isaiah conveyed the Lord's words, assuring that Jerusalem would not be conquered and that God would intervene to save his people from destruction. Hezekiah placed his trust in the divine promise revealed by Isaiah, strengthening his faith and leading him to pray even more fervently for the protection of Jerusalem. With the city surrounded by the Assyrian army, Hezekiah knew that his only hope for survival lay in direct intervention from the God of Israel. In the darkness of the night, as the Assyrian army rested, confident of imminent victory over Jerusalem, a heavenly being descended to earth. This was no ordinary angel, but an executor of divine justice, a warrior from the celestial kingdom, sent directly by God to protect his people. Although the Bible does not describe in detail the appearance of this angel, we can imagine an imposing being, clothed in the armor of righteousness, wielding the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. His presence was so powerful that, without the need for battle or confrontation, just with his passing, he brought death to Israel's enemies. The angel did not need human strategies or earthly weapons. With heavenly authority, he executed judgment on the Assyrians. The Bible reports that night, 185,000 soldiers were killed, a stunning testimony to the power of God. When the survivors woke up, they found themselves surrounded by corpses, a scene that filled them with terror and despair. Divine intervention was swift and powerful, completely thwarting King Sennacherib's plans for destruction and ensuring the safety of Jerusalem. The inhabitants of Jerusalem woke up to an impressive scene the next morning. Where once there was an imposing and forbidding military camp, there was now a battlefield littered with the bodies of Assyrian soldiers. The divine victory was evident to all inhabitants, testifying to the incomparable power of the God of Israel. The angel's intervention was a turning point not only for Hezekiah and the people of Judah, but also for the surrounding nations. News of the miraculous destruction of the Assyrian army spread, and the name of the God of Israel was exalted. Sennacherib, humiliated and defeated, returned to Assyria, where he met his tragic end, murdered by his own sons. Divine intervention not only saved the kingdom of Judah from a dark fate, but also demonstrated God's faithfulness and care for his chosen people. Hezekiah's trust and fervent prayer were rewarded with an extraordinary miracle, which guaranteed the protection and continuity of the kingdom of Judah. This angel, although not named, represents God's protection and care for those who seek him. He reminds us that even in the darkest circumstances, we are not alone. The story encourages us to place our trust in God, who has power over all things and can send his angels to guard us in all our ways. This guarantee is confirmed by Psalms 34:7. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. Hezekiah's reign was marked by several challenging moments, especially his serious illness that almost led to his death. The biblical account tells us that Hezekiah became seriously ill, to the point that the prophet Isaiah visited him and announced that his death was imminent and that he should put his things in order. However, Hezekiah, in a gesture of faith and desperation, turned to the Lord in prayer. He reminded God of his devotion, integrity, and service to the Lord throughout his life and reign, pleading for his healing. In tears, Hezekiah asked God to reconsider his situation, demonstrating his complete trust in divine mercy. God answered Hezekiah's prayer, sending Isaiah back to bring the message that his plea had been heard and that his life would be extended for another 15 years. As a sign of assurance, Isaiah instructed that a paste of figs be applied to Hezekiah's wound, and the king's illness was cured. This miraculous healing not only restored Hezekiah's health, but also reaffirmed his faith in God. The king received the extension of his life as an act of divine mercy, reinforcing the importance of maintaining unshakable faith in times of trial. Hezekiah's story is an extraordinary account of faith, courage, and powerful divine intervention. His journey teaches us the importance of trusting God even in the most challenging and darkest moments of our lives. From his devotion to cleansing the temple in Jerusalem to his miraculous protection against the Assyrian army and his personal healing, Hezekiah is an inspiring example of faithfulness to God. This story reminds us that when we put our trust in God and turn to him in prayer, we can witness miracles and extraordinary experiences in our own lives. May we learn from Hezekiah's courage and faith and seek to strengthen our own faith in God. If you liked this story and were inspired by Hezekiah's journey, leave your comment below and share how this narrative touched your heart. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing and inspiring stories like this. Share this video with your friends and family so they too can be encouraged by Hezekiah's faith and divine intervention in his life. See you in the next video, and may God be with you.